of Debt Nation, where we are busy putting death out of business. And I want to do a little bit of preamble before I rock into this episode. So let's quickly thank our sponsors. I want to thank Thrivous. That's Lincoln Cannon over there. You are doing a great job, sir, with geoprotectors and nootropics. And remember, if you're out there and you want some free geoprotectors or nootropics, you can share this link around. You say thanks Thrivous, and you put Thrivous in the description. The rules are in the description, and that goes from $5 all the way up to $160. That's the best deal on the internet. That is fantastic. So make sure you share this link around. This has to be a viral episode, ladies and gentlemen. This gentleman is extremely important. I also want to thank I Am Transhuman. That's David Kelly over there doing fantastic work in the I Am Transhuman sphere. And all the other sponsors as well. Now, Gregory, I know you don't know who I am very much or what I do, but this show is called Debt Nation, and I'll tell you why. Because in 2010, late 2010, maybe 2011, I remember you pointing at a graph, and the graph was of the debt ratio. And that scared me into next week. And because I'm a geopolitical scientist in a sort of way, and that scared me into next week. And so from then on, I thought, this guy's right. He knows what he's talking about. Let's mitigate this and try and find solutions to this debt crisis. So I actually set this show up after you, because I remember that video and I've been watching you ever since. And you've been right, and you've been right, and you've been right, and you've been right, and people don't listen to you. And it goes to the point where we are now, where you can explain to the point where we are now. But, unfortunately, in a way, you've been right. I mean, that's not a good thing sometimes. But anyway, we have Gregory Mannarino here, ladies and gentlemen. Gregory Mannarino is a very, very special person. He's a prophet in a sort of way. He knows markets. He did medicine, which actually fits really well with the theme of the show, talking about longevity and medicine and looking after your health. Rowan Horn, actually, I've been mentioning him a lot lately on the show, good friend of the show. And, he says your health is your wealth. And I think people are really starting to discover that more and more and more as time goes on, as fiat currencies go down the tube. So your health is your wealth. This is a great idea. So Greg, I really want to thank you for coming on. I think you're a gentleman and you're a scholar. But instead of me talking about your history, I'd like you to firstly introduce yourself to the audience, tell them who you are. You're the Robin Hood of Wall Street, as you have been known, and you've done great things for the community and for real capitalism, not phony cronyist, pathological Keynesianism capitalism that we're living in now. So, Gregory, you're a very special person. I'd really thank you for your time at this juncture. And go ahead and tell the ladies and gentlemen who you are. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate everything.
Well, I thank you, and I'm really glad to be here to talk about what's going on. Look, I'm just a guy out here who's trying to explain what may seem as complicated issues in a very, down-to-earth way. These things, these markets, they seem to be very difficult to understand, but they're really not. And if we look at the geopolitical situation, it all ties in. The markets, the geopolitical situation we are in here. This is epic, what we're seeing now, all by design, 100%. A multi-decade plan going back to debt by the central banks to institute a final solution, and they're just about here now. It's crazy, and I've been talking about this for a long time. And with regard to my calls on this market, my record is pretty much second to none, I think, on the planet. I'm not always right, but I would say, realistically, anyone that follows my work will say I'm right 90% or better. And that's the truth. And the only reason for that is very simple. I live it. I study these markets. I want to be correct. I have a very large following, as you know, and I want people to say, hey, this is a guy that gets it and understands what's going on and is trying to help you. I mean, all the stuff I do is for free. Yeah. I want to pay it forward. Yeah. I've been blessed with a really good life. And I always talk about how we are responsible for each other. All of us. We are. I don't care if you're in Australia or you're in Timbuktu, wherever that may be, or in Las Vegas, Nevada, where I am here. We need to embrace this. We're not each other's enemies. We got to come together right now. We are at a tipping point. We are in crisis. A global meltdown is here. We've been melting down for quite a long time. This whole system has been on a debt life support main line for going back to medicine for a long time. And I still believe sincerely that in '08, this thing died. It's been on life support since then. I'm talking about the world markets. And, they never fixed a damn thing or darn thing. And all they've done is exacerbate the underlying issue, which is debt. And it's, again, it's a multi-decade plan here for the central banks of the world to be the lenders and buyers of last resort, makes us the borrowers. And it's out of control here in the United States right now with this coronavirus excuse, scapegoat now that they're blaming everything on here. Every single thing is the coronavirus. Oh, no, it's not a hyperinflated debt bubble. Oh, no, it's not a hyperinflated stock market. Oh, no, it's not market valuations that makes no sense anymore from however you want to look at it. It's all the coronavirus. Again, 3 years of gains in the stock market got wiped out in 3 weeks here in the United States. Sure, the stock market put on a gain today, but after a 3,000 point loss yesterday was historic, you would expect a bounce here. And what are we getting? We're getting calls for more debt. The Federal Reserve just promised unlimited liquidity to the markets. Their repo operation is now $1 trillion per day. Does anyone think this is a good idea? No. Anyone with a functioning brain cell or two can say that there's a real problem here.
Yeah, and yeah, I know, and this is what we've been warning against, and I agree with you that the cause, it's not just 2008, it's the whole mechanism of Keynesianism where, you can start out small in a local region, you can say, oh, well, we can't let that factory shut down because we need to save the workers, and the misallocation of capital after that fact, it just starts to grow like a cancer, and that's what happened, and in 2008, Timothy Geithner, Ben Bernanke, Hank Paulson, all of them, Janet Yellen, Obama, J.P. Morgan, Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns, all of them decided to not do the right thing and not to let the bad assets wash away and to play on. And I think, this is my strongest criticism of Obama, is because when people reflect on the Obama term, they say, well, it was pretty coasty, it was pretty cool. Yeah, because he bought himself time and he was going to pass on the bubble to whatever president, whether that was Hillary or Trump or a cockroach, which it'll be soon. It didn't really matter. So this, because I was in year 7, or I was in year 8 or 9. I was quite young then, but I was looking at that and I was like, hang on, this doesn't make sense. How do you bail out the creditors? This trickle-down idea, and not the debtors. This doesn't make sense. This is a scam. This is a fraud. And that's when I went straight into Austrian economics at that point, and I was like, no, there's something not right here. I want to figure it out. Straight into Austrian economics, the hardline idea, and I started to work out that, you can't bail people out and it just leads to misallocations of capital. And then I started to work out, oh, look, the Federal Reserve System, 1913, it's a parasitical entity, that it needs to, that America fought twice, 2 civil wars to get rid of them. Why would they actually do that, I wonder? And then you get to the point where you are now, where the system is just in meltdown, and I don't the thing about the coronavirus is it exposed the whole world to globalism. And let's talk about globalism for a second, because we've been talking on this show a lot about the return to regionalism. Now, I've been talking in the natural flow of events. Over the next years, people would start to learn that these supply chains were unstable, and that you would go back to regional manufacturing. You've got a big productive base there in Mexico that's screaming for manufacturing and stuff like that. But all of a sudden, this coronavirus was like threw a mini nuke or a nuke into the economic system. Do you think this is the a precursor to the return of regionalism and the death of globalism as we know it?
This is what I think is happening here, and it has to happen. And I did two videos about this today. What we need to understand here is, first of all, as you're outlining this, we have to realize that none of it at all is by accident. I know it sounds like a conspiracy, but the truth of the matter is, since the inception of central banking, and what you went over is absolutely true, they have had one goal, and this is going to sound crazy to people, but that is to own the world. This is what they've wanted to do. This is why they exist. We transact in their product, and it's a bizarre system. And it's designed to do certain things and cause certain things to happen. So the moment we are at here, and I think this is all coming to head with the disbursement or release of this coronavirus. Where's patient zero? No one knows where it really came from, do they? It's kind of interesting, the timing of this with the collapse of crude oil all coming at the same time, the rapid drop in the market, the distractions that are being thrown in people's face. Look here, don't look here. What must happen now? We are in a global meltdown. Central banks around the world are in hyperdrive, just like I said would happen a long time ago, by design. So we're going to see some pretty bizarre things, in my view, come up here. We're going to need to see alliances between nations that you wouldn't imagine would have existed. And you're right about what you said with the supply lines here, but it's too late for that. We're at a tipping point. We've been at this tipping point, and they pushed us so far. What are we going to do? Automatically start making things that we're making in other part of the world now? It's too late. It really is, in my view here, to stop. I mean, maybe eventually that's how it will play out, but I feel now that we are going to start to see nations, for example, let's talk about this a little bit. And this is going to sound really far-fetched to people, but it's in your face. This is what's going on now. We have a bubble stock market, on the back of the most monstrous bubble in the history of the world. That is this debt bubble. The debt bubble is going to burst at one point here, and it's going to wreak havoc on the world. But let's not go there right now. What I want to talk about here is what we've witnessed over the past several weeks. We witnessed the emergence of this coronavirus here in China, and it started to wreak havoc over there. And now it's gone pretty much global. If you look at the World Health Organization website, very few cases in Russia right now, very few. It seems to be spreading everywhere else. Now, again, who knows if the data is right or wrong. But the timing of this is extremely suspicious to me. I told everyone on my blog the Friday before this melted down that I pulled my own cash out of my core positions. I think I'm the only financial guy on the planet who came out publicly and said, I pulled my cash out of this market. The market to me looked like it was at a peak bubble. So I said, you know what I'm going to do? Just to be safe, I'm going to pull my money out. Be first, be smarter, or cheat. I don't cheat. I'd like to think I'm a smart guy, but at least I was first. And I told people this, and I think I've saved a lot of people a lot of money that followed my footsteps there. So understanding that we had this coronavirus here, which I said was going to be used as a scapegoat for the Federal Reserve and other central banks to go into hyperdrive, to print. Again, they're fulfilling their end goal to be the lender and buyer of last resort here. So I found the timing of all this very suspicious. Again, top of the market. I got my money out first. We have this disbursement of this virus. Then we have Russia. Russia, who is one of the largest producers of oil in the world. I think we can all say that's true. And all of a sudden they go into a price war where the price of crude oil craters to my target. I've had at least 2-year target on crude oil between $25 and $27 a barrel. I don't know who else has had that target, but we just hit it. Okay, we just hit my target. Why did I didn't come up with this out of thin air. I think that's the fair value here. So crude to me today is fairly valued. But why would Russia want to do this? Okay, so let's put this together too. So we got this disbursement of this virus here in China. We got Russia creating a price war here with regard to crude. Now, what people don't know, most people don't know this, so I'm sure you're well aware, that the United States market, the stock market, is absolutely 100% dependent on the price of crude oil being high. The entire energy sector and then the financial sectors are dependent on it. If those sectors go down, it pulls the entire market with it. We've seen what's happened. We've had a literal meltdown here in the U.S. markets. Okay, so you got to look at the backup and say, what's really going on here? Now we have, again, if you noticed on the mainstream media, I'm sure you have, all the financial channels, every finger pointing at this coronavirus. It's the coronavirus. It's not the bubble market. It's corona. Okay, fine. So what I see happening here is very interesting in my view. We got this deliberate disbursement of this virus in China for a reason. That also plays back into the United States-China trade war, which the United States cannot win without making an alliance here with Russia. Now, alliances must be made. We are in a collapse. No nation can stand alone here. This is for down the line. I think we're going to see a lot more alliances. Strange bedfellows are going to start coming up.
Why Russia,
well,
Greg? I've got a lot of questions, but why Russia? That's a bit of a weird statement.
Let me finish why I'm saying this. So what I believe here, again, Russia has vast energy supplies. Now, if you were Russia, knowing the global situation that we are in, who would you want to align yourself with? Would you want to align yourself with China? I don't think so. You'd want to align yourself with the United States for a myriad of reasons. We still have the reserve currency. We have the petrodollar. We have we have an industrial capacity here that needs to be tapped, and it's there. So if I were Russia, I would not want to align myself with China, especially knowing that this trade war, again, when phase one never really happened. Phase two, we got to see where that goes. But again, right now, this puts China in a very bad situation and alignment between Russia and the United States. Now, what else does this do? What does this do here? Much bigger is it allows the Fed to do what they're doing now. We got a promise of unlimited liquidity into the markets. The Federal Reserve is going to go hyper nuclear right now. We have quantitative easing. We have $1 trillion repos per day going on now. It's an incredible thing, and we're nationalizing corporations. I mean, President Trump, he's been calling it, we're going to support all these corporations. What does that mean? They're getting bailouts. They're getting public bailouts. We're nationalizing them. So we're watching what I think, honestly, was a coup here in the United States occur over the last several days. I said Friday the 13th, this month, was the death of the last remnants of whatever was left of a free market here in the United States and a free society. So understanding that sacrifices need to be made here because we're going down. If they don't do something, if they don't stop this, do something, we're going to end up in a Mad Max scenario. We're going to get a credit freeze, or at least they're trying to prevent it by the repo operation, passing cash back and forth, these banks to each other overnight, to astronomical figures here. By all this money printing, now we're nationalizing corporations here. There's something much bigger going on, in my view. And I do think that this alliance here, that it appears as clear as day. The timing of this is too spectacular to be coincidence. Coronavirus, collapse of the oil markets, the United States market plummeting. Now all of a sudden the Federal Reserve is President Trump's best friend, printing all this money, unlimited liquidity here, nationalizing corporations. I think this has been in the works for a very, very long time.
Yeah,
and now this puts China in a bad spot.
Yeah, and we've been talking about the end of Bretton Woods a lot on this show, saying that this is the end of Bretton Woods. Nixon took the US off the gold standard in the 70s. Put the Fed aside because that's 1930. That's a huge another problem. But Nixon took the gold standard off. He took the U.S. Currency off the gold standard in the 70s, and this is the natural end of that period of time. This is what happens when markets get distorted to that. What about on a personal front, on a personal finance front? Should we be hoarding cash? Is it too late to get gold and silver? Gold and silver obviously being manipulated on the downside. If you're poor like me, they call silver poor man's gold. What do you think about gold and silver?
Silver is my #1 favorite asset on the planet, bar none, and I own it all. I own gold, silver, platinum, palladium, cryptocurrencies, all the big ones, equity. Well, no, that's not true. I closed all my accounts. I don't own any equities right now. I'm in cash, but I do trade these markets. That's how I make my living. Yeah. And
did you short the fall?
Yeah, I went short the market very slightly at first, and I've been. What I'm doing now, I'm working on a completely new. I'm always working out trading platforms and systems. I've written a bunch of them. What I'm working on now is called a split strike rollover. I'm in the early stages of this. It's not like the Bernie Madoff, split strike conversion that he did. Although that's a viable strategy. People don't realize what he was doing works. It just. Well, it should have been. Well, let's talk about that real quick. What Bernie Madoff was doing, although it was a viable strategy, he had so much. It was too big. It wouldn't have worked.
Yeah. He was the only guy who got caught out in the rain without an umbrella, and he took the fall
exactly.
for everyone.
Yeah. So basically, what I'm doing now is I'm every single day, and I'm kind of neutral the way this works here, and it benefits. This strategy actually will benefit no matter which way the market moves, as long as the volatility remains. It really tries to capitalize on volatility. And unfortunately, it's something you need to be on top of. Like, I'm in front of this computer here from before the sun comes up till pretty much when it gets dark. So I can do that. I don't think it's a viable strategy for someone who can't do that. But as an active player in the market, it's something I can do. But going back to metals, it's insane. Of course, people should be hoarding it. But as the poor man's gold, no. Or whatever. Silver's it. Especially look at what they've done to it. It's very volatile, as you know. Silver is crazy. It's all over the place. And, we got to embrace these things. We have to understand what they're doing. They're going to inflate. They have to inflate. They can't stop inflating. And, if and when they introduce some kind of a new system here, these things are still going to be worth what they've been historically. I mean, these are real pieces of wealth.
I think, Greg, what's the end game? We're going back to a gold and silver standard, or gold standard at least. That's why the detonation is in gold. The logo is in gold, because gold is real money. It's a real thing. But silver is interesting as well, because gold you can put in electronics and use it for electronics. Silver as well. They're both usable metals, industrial capacity. And I think maybe that might have something to do with the fall as well, because the silver demand would have dropped a little bit with Chinese production, right? But because still people are still thinking of it as a commodity, not as a metal of monetary value. Would you comment on that quickly?
Sure. Well, all I can say is this: I always look at things in kind of a bipolar way. I say, okay, what is an anti-debt unit? An anti-debt unit would be gold or silver. I also like platinum and palladium, but it's gold. Silver is my favorite. Gold is, as you well know, the most stable asset in the history of the world. Whatever its price action might be, it'll buy the same thing today that it bought 50 years ago, and it will remain that way, I think, until time ends. Now, with regard to what I think here, and I would love to see a commodity-backed, real wealth-based system develop. But the fact of the matter is how do central banks wield their power? Well, by their ability to continue to issue debt. And we have fought wars, as you well know, to establish the petrodollar system, the fiat monetary system, and they will continue to slaughter. I can't think of another way. Anyone that gets in their way, and they won't give up that power without. I can't even imagine what would happen. They're too strong, and sadly, the people are too dumbed down. I would believe that the people that follow your work are smarter and have a better perspective on what's happening than the people outside my house here. Most people walk through time and space. Sadly, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know why they're doing whatever they are doing. They can't walk and chew gum at the same time. They've been indoctrinated into some twisted reality. And that's why I'm sure that you, because I know I do, get hammered every day by these people who have no idea whatsoever is really going on. Right in their face. It freaks me out sometimes. It really does. And I talk to people sometimes, and I've made some pretty wild calls throughout the years, and most of them have come to be. I talked about the yield curve inverting several years before it did.
Yeah.
I got laughed at. I got ridiculed. Some guy wanted to bet me $100,000 that it wouldn't invert. I should have took the bet, right?
September, you would have been a millionaire.
Quite obviously. It's just so crazy. But I think understanding here, at least to me, what the end game is here for central banks and their puppet politicians. Again, the world is not run by presidents, kings, queens, or monarchs. The world is run by the central banks. And that's the way it is. They control our mode of transaction. And this is why you got politicians who are against any type of transacting in anything else other than a fiat bill here, that we don't even own them. I mean, these bills that we carry around aren't even ours. Yeah. They're issued by a central bank, and we owe them back to the issuing central bank, plus interest that they print out of thin air.
Which has a big federal stamp, which isn't even legal. It's not even a federal entity. It just says federal, and he's just a governor, and it's just .gov. But it's not even. That's fake. That's a fraud. It's a hologram. It's not real. And this is why I went nuts. I was in high school, and I was running around with Ron Paul signs here in Australia saying Ron Paul for president. This guy. I think something's gone really wrong here. Ron Paul, Ron Paul, Ron Paul, and I'm really proud of myself for having the foresight to know that something was up, something was not right with this federal banking system, and that somebody like Ron Paul, because Ron Paul has been right, he's still right, he's over there on the Liberty Report, being correct. Him and McDaniel Adams, the Ron Paul Peace and Liberty Report. These guys are beautiful humans who if he had got elected, and that's why he didn't get elected, because he would have shaken the system up and prevented all of this. Talking about solutions, Greg. So, do you think that they're going to roll this debt up into to the IMF or to the BIS or the Bank of International Settlements? Do you think they're going to just what do you think they're going to do? Or is this, if this is the end of the dollar, are they going to roll it into a new, some sort of new national fiat currency coin? What are they? What's the end game here, Greg, from Las Vegas?
Yeah, well, I think for a very, very long time they've understood exactly what you just said. This will run its course, and they do have something else. I don't know what it is. Believe me, if I did, I would tell you. To replace the current system, which I mean, come on, let's look around us. What are they doing? What can they do? How much more can they inflate? I think they're going to create. This is what I think they're going to do. What do they always do? They're going to create a crisis, and then they're going to offer a solution. It's the same thing throughout history, over and over again. This is how they manipulate the people on a global scale, and that's what they're going to do here. This is going on here, people. This is what we need to do. But my greatest fear, no matter how this plays out, and I really do feel like it's going to play out this way, whatever they come up with when they create the crisis, again, this coronavirus engineered crisis, in my opinion, so they could issue in some other kind of thing that just happened right now between Russia and the United States, collapse the market, start buying everything, start nationalizing corporations. They're going to do the same thing with regard to our mode of transaction. And people, it's going to get so bad that people are going to beg for a solution. And the solution that they're going to take or are willing to accept is not going to be one that they themselves are going to be able to benefit from. The central banks around the world will never, never, never give up power. And they are, you see, thinking on a level, and they're ahead of it. They're like in another time zone. In other words, they're way ahead of the people. You and me, at least, we're trying to keep up. You know, people that watch these videos of yours are trying to keep up, but they're already ahead of us by probably a year or two. They know what's going to come down the pike, and they already have this ready to go. This is like, you know, that the thinking that the CIA does or whatever. It's up there. It's out there a little bit. And so we can sit here and speculate about it all we want to. All I do know, or at least I feel now, is that the lengths that central banks have gone through to achieve what they have now is pretty incredible. And they're not going to give it up without a revolution, even if we were to. I've been telling people publicly that we need a revolution, that we need to revolt. There's not enough of us. There's not enough by a long shot to. I wish there were. I really wish there were.
Max Kaiser issued a Giabo campaign. I remember that's a global insurrection against banker occupation, and you know I've been fully engaged with that campaign. Max Kaiser. Genius. He's a genius.
Yeah,
you know, he's been calling this also for a long time, pushing for gold and silver and Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and all the other things.
Those are the right spots. I mean, come on. Those are the right spots. There's no doubt about it. That's what I think. That's what I'm in. That's what I think people need to be in moving forward. No doubt about it. I mean, it's just a no-brainer to me. It's like breathing. It's like it's just so simple. It really is. I mean, you know, look, I trade these markets because it's a means to an end.
Yeah,
it's a means to an end here for me. I make my money in this market. I pull it out. I convert it into other assets. You know, I think the thing is that people need to. You can't have all your eggs in one thing. I know there are people that are like, oh, gung ho about X cryptocurrency or Y cryptocurrency or Z. You got to be kind of dispersed. You got to be kind of in a lot of things. You know, and not just that. I mean, you got to own other things too. I own artwork. I own one-offs. I own instruments, musical instruments too. You know, things that you can hold and, you know, will have value at one point here. That's kind of what I think. I don't like the all eggs in one basket kind of mentality. And there's a lot of people like that. And I get hit all the time. Oh, Greg, you should only be in this. Really?
You know, it used to be a thing, you know, where we say, you know, the financial illiteracy and, you know, okay, you think in your head, okay, but when people lose it on one of these little bubbles, they'll start to wake up and they won't be as financially illiterate. But it's gotten to a point now where you got an elephant about to step on your head and people will refuse to learn what trading is or what investing is or what buying assets is or what debt is. They don't want to learn. They don't want to know. They're living their heads in the cloud. It's this financial illiteracy, and it's the people as well, not just the banks, but because up until now, I've been feeling quite safe because the bread and circuses were rolling on. Now the bread and circuses have stopped, Greg. All of a sudden, all the people are looking around going, what happened to my basketball? What happened to my football? And for me, that makes me feel really insecure because when the bread and circuses stop, the people start to think, what the heck is happening? And this coronavirus, it's blown out of proportion. Every death is bad. I hate death. We sit here, we advocate, campaign to stop killer robots. We have a bunch of medical people on here, Thrivous and stuff. I don't like death. Death is a very bad thing. But so every death is bad. But you don't have to sink the global economy to this proportion. Because some Western developed countries or China is freaking out. I mean, this is the you know what I mean? They didn't care so much when it was, I don't know, AIDS or HIV. They didn't have to sink the global economy. I mean, the real economy underneath is actually not too bad. That's the point. The real economy, and this is what Warren Buffett did in 28. He invested in the real economy below the financial markets because the reason I'm saying this is because what you're saying about the eggs all in one basket. So a lot of people buy stocks. They say, I'm invested in a stock, in a specific stock, and it keeps going up. Therefore, I'm rich because I have money. That you hear that rhetoric, and I used to go, oh yeah, that person kind of dumb. But now when they all lose their money all at the same time, well, they all lose their stock at the same time, which is just an investment. It's just an investment. Then they go, oh, now I'm poor. The wealth effect fails, and it all starts to go down. That it's financial illiteracy, Greg. Financial illiteracy. It's rampant.
You know what it is to me. Let's talk about. Let's try to tie this into medicine a little bit here.
Yes.
And psychology is people have been lulled into a state of learned helplessness. They feel like they can't do anything. They feel like maybe their lives are out of control. So what do? They withdraw. They don't do anything and they don't act. This is also instilled into people's mind that, oh, don't worry about it. The markets go up, markets go down, you lose your money. It's okay. Or you should do this or do that. They get into this state of mind where they get paralyzed like a deer in the headlights. And I've been telling people, no, you can't do that. You got to act. You got to be proactive in just everything in life. It's not just about the markets or anything else like that too. But that's what people do. They're stuck, and it's part of the indoctrination. And I told people before this last 3-week meltdown in the market that it would be very, very rapid. And I got a lot of, before this happened, oh, Greg, you're wrong. This guy is saying it's going to be a slow burn. It's never a slow burn. It's done on purpose, and it's done rapidly to catch you off guard. Again, 3 years of gains erased in 3 weeks. It should say it all to people. This is, again, it's by design. It's always going to be the same. And the thing is, it's going to happen again. People willingly allow this to happen. And then what do? They cry about it. Oh, I can't believe this. Why did this happen? Why didn't anybody tell me? I mean, they don't want to even mention guys like you and me at one point. But, we're trying to do something. Look, you, me, I am more than certain a lot of people that are watching this show here, they want to make a difference. They want to matter. You know what I mean? It's just so important to me, and I've said this for a decade, we're responsible for each other, and we got to adopt that. If we start to come together as a people, as a world people, a lot of this stuff wouldn't matter, and we would rely on each other more for what comes and what calamities might be thrown at us. But people have been so isolated. They're deliberately put here in boxes. They're divided by age, by race, by religion, by skin color, whatever it might be. This is all by design too. People are not allowed to come together. It's a crazy thing what they do.
And Greg, it's good you're talking about coming together because, if they crash the markets in a natural way like they're doing now, whether or not, and I'm just going to put this on the table because I don't want to get my YouTube channel banned or whatever. So whether this virus was man-made or not, the result is the same. The result is the same. And, it's really interesting because, everyone's now sitting in their houses, really frightened and really scared, and they won't riot and they won't civil war because everyone's scared that they're going to catch coronavirus. Oh, no. So we can't challenge the powers that be. We can't do anything to the powers that be because we all got to sit at home while they reset the whole system. It's very interesting that they're doing this. And whether it's man-made or not, it's irrelevant because the result is the same. It's a global lockdown while they reset the entire system. What do you say to that?
That's exactly true. Make people afraid of one thing and you can control their minds. It's really the truth. And again, the media has gone out of its way to shove this down everyone's throat. Not saying it's not real. People are dying.
Crazy.
People are getting sick.
I woke up on January 1 or 2 and Bloomberg, because I got the Bloomberg News app, and they were just going crazy. Bang, 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 bang. And it was just, I was just like, what? This is coordinated.
Make them afraid, and then you control their minds. And the worst thing about this This is not the last time. They're going to use this tactic over and over again. This is a tactic. This is a strategic
9/11.
move. Yeah, yeah, there you go. There's another one. You can keep going back through time. What they do over and over again to the people, and the truth of the matter is that people are stuck in that state of learned helplessness. So what do? They get afraid. They can't move. They become paralyzed. They let things just unfold to them. No matter what the outcome, they just sit there. I know a lot of people that are calling me, and they're like people that are close to me that are in terror, literal terror of what's going on here. Again, it's meant to do that, and the media has gone out of its way. Look, none of it's real. You know what's real? A show like this, when you got two guys, you and me, talking about this stuff candidly, nothing scripted, no questions beforehand. We're just sitting here talking. But these mainstream media outlets, it's all scripted. They all have the same narrative. Why do you think they're all covering the same things at the same time? You think this is just coincidence too? It's unbelievable. This is a twisted reality, and what people believe is real is just not. None of it is. This is so sick. This is why we need to get on their level of thinking to at least attempt to think of a concept that seems so far-fetched to you. And it's probably true. The truth is stranger than fiction. We all know that. So when they're telling you to look over here, you got to be looking in the opposite direction. That's all you need to know. What's really going on? What are they trying to sell me? What are they trying to make me afraid of? Where do they want me to look? Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to look the other way. What's going on over there? Because they don't want me to look at that. It's always the same. It's never going to stop. And that's what drives me crazy. But you're not stuck in it. I'm not stuck in it. I would imagine most of your followers are not stuck in it. But most people are. And this is
Greg, I started to play the game because, I lost my job because of this virus because they shut the university down. And I started to play the game. And I thought, because I know that these people, I feel sorry for them sometimes because I knew this was coming and I'm sort of half ready for it. This show is actually a preparation for this, so I can stay connected with experts all over the world and try and navigate myself and whoever was smart enough to subscribe to this channel through this and see where we can go from here. So this show is part of this preparation to connect with people like yourself. But these middle managers at universities and stuff, they're all struggling and they're all saying, we don't know what's happening. It's all the virus. And so I'm just playing along. I'm just saying, yes, when will the virus be over? The virus. I'm just playing along with the lingo because I realized, because I've talked to people, nobody knows. Nobody gets the economic stuff. Nobody gets the financial stuff. So it's all the virus. And then I realized the virus is code word for global economic reset. Wow, very cool. So I'm actually playing along with this in reality, in the normal reality, because that's the language that they want us to speak, and that's the language that they'll understand. So I'll play with that. But it's not the true. And we're talking about the Federal Reserve. We're talking about the markets. We're talking about 1913 and other such dates. And nobody else is. Everybody else is talking about testing kits and this and that, health, flattening curves and stuff. And I think it's funny. It's a flattening of the curve because it looks hyperbolic anyway, it's all a bit strange, Greg. And I know you got to go. But is there any final words you wanted to say? I really appreciate you, sir, for coming on. And, I've been a fan of you since 2010, 2011. You showed that graph and boom, that was it for me. Off I went.
Well, look, in the end of all this, I mean, what does it all mean? What does it all mean? It means that we got to honestly we got to come together. We got to realize that we're not each other's enemies. That's the biggest thing to me is understanding that our responsibilities to our fellow human beings in every capacity, and be willing to go out of your way to help another person through whatever they're going through, because we're about to see something. I think we're in some kind of crazy shift here. And I always tell people, you're gonna need friends at one time, and that's another thing I think people are lacking these days. I urge people to join an organization or start one, start a blog, start talking about this stuff here, get together with like-minded people, and toss these things around. The most bizarre things that you can come up with. Say, well, maybe this is happening. It sounds like it's the most crazy thing, but let's analyze that and let's see if there's any possibility. But that's really what it's all about to me. What is it all going to mean if we have a credit freeze and we can't transact and we can't do anything, or we get massive hyperinflation? What is all the money going to mean? What is it going to mean? Nothing. That's what it's going to mean. What is going to mean something is relationships, period, the end.
Yeah, well, Greg, that's what I always thought as well, and I wanted to be connected with the smartest people all over the world, and that's why I set this show up. That's why I invested in this infrastructure. That's why I built up the audience. We got PhDs, scientists, medical physicians. We've got astronomers. We got financial analysts, geopolitical analysts. We got everything, and we're all on the outside. Even these people with the smarts, with the stuff. We're still the peasants. We're all on the outside, unless you're a central banker right now, unless you work for some big central bank, or you're up near the very tippity top of some executive forum place in a government or emergency services. We're all on the outside, and that includes all the Wall Street people. Except for if you work near the very top of a very, very big bank that's ready to parasite all of their debt onto the public books, and that's what they're going to be doing all over the world, because they want to, turn around, pick a helicopter, and jump down, turn around, it's happening, but much bigger than 2008. This is the big shift, and they're going to scoop up, all those little restaurants and everything that are going out. Boom! That's all nice, beautiful real estate there that they're going to just scoop in on a massive way. It happens in cycles. It's cyclical, and this is a global cyclical moment. And anyway, that Greg, I agree with you. Relationships.
Well, that thought, I want to say, I love your perspective, and I think you're fantastic. I really do, and I'm very happy we finally got to do this show, and at least I got to meet you. And I think people should listen to you. Honestly, I hope you send me the link to this, because I want my people to see this too.
Yeah, I'll re-upload it, send people to me. We've got 180 episodes here, and it's not just geopolitics or finance. It's health, it's AI, it's super AI, it's longevity, it's medicine, which I know you were in and stuff. It's everything that you can deal with these sorts of scenarios. It's molecular manufacturing to help with supply chain problems. It's TAFS, which is a great organization which is involved in transdisciplinary discussions, or the Transhumanist-Party of the United States, which is about mitigating existential risks to humanity. Example, they wouldn't have allowed a pandemic to sweep across. They would have underinvested in public health, or wouldn't have ripped out the NHS in the UK. These guys would have put public health at the front of it, and not allowed Pentagon bloke to be run away with, or So this show is great, and I'm really, you're. So thank you, sir.
No, I'm trying to find something I wanted to show you real quick. Let's see if I can just give me one more second here. Talking about longevity and stuff like that. I'm going to show you something. This gentleman, his name is Ed Hall. He's 96 years old. He's on roller skates, if you can see that. He's 96. This guy is one of the last survivors of the Pearl Harbor attack.
Wow.
All right. He's one of the few. He's like a father to me. He's like my best friend in the world. And I can tell you, with regard to longevity, he's 96. I told him at 100, on his bucket list, he wants to go back to Pearl Harbor. I said, when you turn 100, Ed, I'm taking you to Pearl Harbor. Anyway, his secret, I can tell you what it is. Stay happy. Stay happy. Stay active. Have friends. This guy here, he has more friends than people that I was 18, and he's almost 100 years old. So that's really the truth here. Look at this guy. He's 96. He's on roller skates. Anyway, that's the secret to longevity in my book. He's this guy. I can't speak enough about him. We should have him on your show. He is amazing. If you want to talk to an amazing person, forget about Greg Mannarino. Ed Hall makes me look like nothing.
My granddad, he's also 96, and I worry about this COVID-19 thing because he's also 96, but he's the same thing. He's not on roller skates, but he still drives, he still goes for walks. One of his thing is be happy, be happy.
Yeah,
he's been through a lot in his life. Be happy and be motivated, and talk to your family and talk about stories and the good things that happen in life and the good things to look forward to as well. And I encourage this as well. And this is what we have left now. This is what, while they play games with the global economy, we need everybody we can to stay happy and strong in these hard times.
So true.
Greg, thank you so much for coming on Debt Nation. Let me just thank Chairman Gennady Stolyarev for keeping this show on life support. Thank you to David Shoemaker as well, and Mike DeVerde, the superfan, and the Future for Humanity project, which they want me to say, future is in your hands. So thank you very much for coming on the show, Greg. Remember that this show was named after you, Debt Nation. It's in gold because gold is real money, of course. And I just want to thank you again because, you set me on this course really fundamentally, 2010, 2011. Amazing. I know you remember that, and I know you remember seeing me comment there. And I know I don't comment on your stuff very much, but I've been watching and reading you, and I've been terrified about your brain, sir. So thank you so much.
Thank you.